Hey guys, it's Brianna here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today I thought it'd be kind of fun to just talk about some of the books that I hope to read in the next few months for fall. This is definitely not a end-all be-all, a TBR list. I am a definition of a mood reader. I never know what I'm going to pick up the next day or for the next book, next audiobook, whatever. So this is going to be more so a hopeful kind of TBR video. These are just books that I would definitely like to get to. I am only going to talk about books that I have on my bookshelf. I can, if you guys want, I would be more than happy to create a video talking about some of the other books like audiobooks, ebooks that are on my fall TBR that I just don't own physically. So if that's something you'd be interested in, definitely let me know down in the comments if you would like to see that from me. But I'm only going to talk about the books that I do have on my bookshelf in physical form that I would like to get to in the next few months. So let's go ahead and jump in. I am not going to give any synopsis of these books. I have about 30 books in this stack. Some of them are series, so I do not want to make this a hour-long video talking about each book. I might give you the trope or kind of just the overall vibe of the book, but let's go ahead and jump in. So first up, I have a book that I was sent to from the author. This is Here Lies North. This is by Ava Harrison. This is a more like romantic suspense type book. This was such a fun PR package to get because it came with like all these different things that correlate to the book, like missing persons report, all these news clippings, a evidence bag. Like it was such a fun little PR package to get. So this is on my TBR because this really does sound super interesting. I have had this author on my radar for a very long time, and I think this is the great book to start out with. Next up, I have a sequel that I just need to read at this point, which means I'm gonna have to reread book one, but I need to specifically read Enamored by Gianna Darling. This is a sequel to Enthralled. I think that's book one. I always get the titles mixed up. Yeah, and this is a duet. I literally read book one back when it released, and I have yet to read the sequel, and book one ends on a cliffhanger. I don't know how I've made it this far without knowing how it concludes. It's quite the chunky book, so I definitely at this point need to reread book one before I jump into this one, but this is definitely on my TBR list. I have got to finish this duet so I can understand everything that happens and how their story concludes. I just need to finish it. Next up, I have a book that has legit been on my TBR since 2014. I am not joking. It is Raw by Bella Aurora. This is like one of the like epitome of a dark romance, and I have yet to read it. I have another book I'm going to talk about, same thing. They have literally been on my TBR since 2014, and I have yet to read it. This has got to be the year that I read this book. The book that's been on my TBR literally since 2014 is Tears of Tess by Pepper Winters. Like, how can I claim myself as a dark romance lover if I haven't read literally the epitome of dark romance? And I even own the exclusive editions from Mystic Box, and I still haven't read it. So 2022 has to be the year that I finally dive into these two books because I'm so tired of adding them to my TBR and never actually reading them. Next up, I have another book that I was sent to from the author. This is Mine to Have by Natasha Madison. This is a small town romance, and I adore Natasha Madison. So I already know I'm going to love this book. It's just a matter of time. These covers are absolutely freaking stunning. Like, I just want them on my shelves just for the vibes in general. But I already know I'm going to love this book because, like I said, I adore Natasha Madison. So I just need to carve out a time when I can binge this series because that cover is absolutely stunning, and I cannot get over it. Next up, I have two books from an author that I have been meaning to read for a very long time. First one that I have is Out of Blue, and this is by Catherine Nolan. I know this is like a bodyguard romance, and I have yet to read it. Second one is going to be On the Ropes. This is obviously also by Catherine Nolan, and I forget what this one is. I don't even remember, but I definitely need to check out this author because I feel like it's another author that I'm really going to enjoy. So I have two of her books on my shelves that I just need to get to. Next up, I have a series that literally everybody talks about, and I am far behind. I am talking about Twisted Hate. This is book 3 in the Twisted series by Anna Huang. I adored book 1 and 2, and I have not read book 3 or book 4 yet. I don't own the physical copy yet of book 4, so I've got to read these soon. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because I just need to read these books because I loved the first two, so I need to. Next up, I have an art copy of The Dark King by Gina L. Maxwell. This was pitched to me as 50 Shades of Grey meets Neon Gods. I haven't read Neon Gods yet, but I'm absolutely obsessed with retellings, so I already know I'm going to be very fascinated by this book. This was another book that I was sent to from the publisher. I'm just very excited about this book. It sounds super interesting, so this is another book I have on my TBR. Next up, I have a series that literally everybody is talking about recently, and more so the author in general. I have the, oh, what's the name of this series called? The Edens. I don't have the prequel, which is Christmas in Quincy. Hopefully I'll get a copy of that. Either way, I will still read it. It is the prequel to this series. First one is Indigo Ridge, second is Juniper Hill, and the most recent is Garnet Flats. I know book 4, oh, what's it called? It's a yellow cover. It's literally popping in my head. Anyway, that one's not supposed to come out until next year. I want to say like February or so. But I definitely want to dive into these books because, like I said, I really love Daphne Perry. I definitely still have some reading to do in her backlist. So this is one of those series that I just need to read so I can understand what everybody's talking about, because everybody talks about this series and I need to read it. Next up, I have another series that I've started. This is Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. I need to get caught up on her books. She doesn't have a super big backlist, but this one is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. This follows the brother from book 1. I really enjoyed the concept of book 1, so I'm very excited about this book. I just need to read it already because I love book 1. Next up, we have yet another series. You catching my drift here. I have Wretched by Amy Mccullough. This is another retelling series that follows Disney characters, more so the villains, and I'm pretty sure this one's Snow White, I think, if I remember correctly. I cannot remember. I just need to read this book. I know this series got picked up by a publisher, which is extremely exciting. I accidentally also purchased a second copy of this book, so oops. Next up, I have another book that's been on my TBR for way too long, and that is going to be Dark Notes by Pam Gondwin. This is a student-teacher romance, taboo, all of that stuff, dark romance. I need to read it because, like, I need to know what this book is about. Like, obviously, I've heard about it talked numerous times, but I need to experience this book for myself because I am extremely curious about this book. Another book by the same author, I have Sea of Ruin, again, also obviously by Pam Gondwin. This is a historical dark romance. I'm extremely intrigued by the premise of this book. It is very unheard of to get a dark romance mixed in with a historical romance. So I am extremely excited about this book. And plus it's Pam Gondwin, like, duh. Next up I have Ivy by Willa Nash. This is a pen name for Daphne Perry. I know this is like kind of like a secret society, very hush hush type of book. I'm extremely intrigued by this book. It's quite chunky, which I feel like is very not normal for Daphne Perry because their books are, you know, decent length. So I'm very curious to see how this book plays out because it just sounds extremely interesting, and I've seen people talk about this book and I'm like, I definitely need to read it. It sounds really good. Next up, I have a series that hopefully by the time I post this video, I am working on the series. It is an author that, again, I'm also absolutely obsessed with. It is Catherine Cowles. I recently-ish read book 1, which is Falling Stars, and I just need to get caught up because literally everybody is talking about this book, and it absolutely deserves the hype because Catherine Cowles is literally an angel, and I adore her. So I have books 2, 3, and 4 of the series. The most recent release is Shattered Sea. It just came out. When you guys see this video, it's probably like about a week or 2 after release, but I need to get caught up on this series. It is like a romantic with like suspense elements set in a small town. So there's that one. I have a series that I have started, okay? I just need to finish them and y'all will understand. If you know anything about me, I'm extremely intimidated by big books. So I'm just gonna like hold them up. This is 4 books, not including the novellas. I do not own the novellas in physical form, but I am specifically talking about the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas. I have started this series, I think like 2018, 2019, and 2 years ago or so, I read, I think, Kill Switch. I don't even know if I made it to Kill Switch, honestly. I think I just read Hideaway. So I think at this point I need to restart the series and really re-experience everything and then finish the series because I just need to mark this series as complete because it is absolutely driving me crazy that I have yet to finish this series because I've been reading it for like ever. So I need to finish it. Next up, I have a sports romance. This is The Right Player by Mckinty Steiner. The first book is called The Wrong Game. One of my all-time favorite sports romance books. It's Mckinty Steiner. You can't go wrong with her. I adore this woman to absolute pieces. She is amazing. So I need to read this one. I have 2 more books by Mckinty Steiner. This is part of like the same series, although they're like standalones within the series. I have book 1, which is Fair Catch, and then Blind Side, which is the most popular. I feel like this is probably her most well-known book at this point, and it's her most recent release. So these are both sports romances as well, and I'm just very excited about these books because, like I said, I adore Mckinty Steiner. I already know I'm gonna love them because it's Mckinty Steiner. Next up, I have another book that is extremely well known. We have Love on the Brain by Hazelwood. This is the sequel to The Love Hypothesis, which follows a different couple. I'm very invested in this storyline and just these characters in general, so I'm very excited about this book. Hopefully I get to it very soon because, like I said, this has been on my anticipated releases of the year, and I'm so excited to have a copy of it. Next up, I have another author that I adore to absolute pieces. That is Maggie Moves On by Lucy Score. I definitely need to read all of her backlist at this point, but this is her first traditionally published romance, and I'm very excited about this one. This one's like a home renovation YouTube star kind of situation. It just sounds super cute. Obviously involves a dog, so you can't do any wrong with that. Sorry if I'm moving really fast. Again, I don't want to make this video extremely long. I just want to fly through them really quick because obviously I haven't read these books, so I don't know how to talk about them. Next up, I have Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. This is obviously a book where she is like an editor in all of these books. She is obsessed with true crime, and then she starts to see serial killers and kind of talk to them, and it just becomes like a romance story based off of that. Next up, I have some thrillers that are on my TBR as well. I definitely love to read more thrillers during this time of year just because of the vibes and everything that they give off, and plus it's really nice to read them in between romance books to kind of just like cleanse my palette of sorts. So I have 5 books that I have on I actually have another bookshelf in the living room that I keep all my thrillers on, and the first up is going to be The Collective by Alison, Galen. This one's basically where kids go missing, and there's like this network of moms who basically like pay each other to go find them, and it sounds extremely interesting. I'm very intrigued by this book the more people talk about it. Next up, I have The Chain by Adrian Mckinty. I'm extremely intrigued. This one basically is like a chain reaction where the main character's child literally gets taken in front of them, and the only way to get them back is they have to go kidnap another child and they will get their kid back. So it's literally a chain reaction. Like there was a kid that was taken, and so the parent had to come take the kid in this book, and so this parent has to literally kidnap another child to get their own child back, and it sounds extremely interesting, very creepy. I'm looking forward to that book. Next up, I have probably one of the most well-known is No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is like a isolated thriller, and I am very excited about this book. I have only ever heard good things about this book, so I look forward to this one. Next up, I have The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I've been meaning to read this book for a couple of months now. I just have not been able to get into it just yet. This one gives me kind of like Lock Every Door by Riley Sager vibes, where there's this person who moves into the apartment for a extended period of time. Maybe not the like suspense elements that Lock Every Door has, but I'm definitely curious about this book. Last book on this fall TBR list is going to be Breathless by Amy Mccullough. This one may fall also into my fall or my winter TBR because this might be more so for that one, but I'm very extremely curious about this one also. I'm pretty sure this is another isolated thriller. I'm definitely very interested in isolated thrillers. I tend to very much enjoy those, so I definitely look forward to this one. If I don't get to it in the fall, I would definitely get to it in the winter because I am very curious about this book for sure. So those are all the books on my fall hopeful list. I'm not even going to say TBR because that's not really a TBR list. I am not a person who sticks to TBRs. I pretty much steer clear of them. So anytime I say the word TBR, it's more so like a hopeful, like books that I would like to get to. I literally am the definition of a mood reader. I, you know, kind of go with the flow and just read whatever I'm interested in that moment. I am a reader who reads very broadly, I guess is the word. Like, I read thrillers. I really want to read some cozy mysteries. I've only ever read one, and I definitely want to read more. There's a lot of like fall ones that I would love to read also, so I could do a video about that. There's obviously dark romance because I'm always reading those. I read them all the time. Small town romances because this is like the perfect time. Sports romance because football is starting over again. Just all of the different books. But anyway, if you guys would like to see more like TBR videos, maybe some ones that are on my audiobook list, books that I'm going to check out from Libby and Hoopla, all of that. If you guys would like to see that video, definitely put it in the comments below because I would love to know. If you guys have any books that you would love to recommend, I am always open to recommendations. But until my next video, I will see you guys later. Bye guys.